Hello, Star Wars fans. Today is going to be my breakdown and reaction to Ahsoka Episode 6. And what an episode it was, right? We got the return of Thrawn, the return of Ezra, and the beginning of the exploration of a brand new galaxy. Oh my. Lots of spoilers, so make sure you've seen the episode first, but assuming you have, then let's dive right in and see what we can find out. As I like to remind, there is a contest running throughout the month of September on the channel. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment. The winner will be chosen at random and announced in early October and can choose from one of the 4 books above. Best of luck. Okay, so I really like the fact that at the end of what I'm calling the parade of helmets, we get this Star Wars logo. I don't think we've seen that in any of like Mandalorian or Ahsoka's episodes, etc. So that really is trying to say we're going somewhere brand new. We're kind of starting over in a new galaxy, far, far away. Very cool little touch by Filoni. Then this was great. The special effect for the hyperspace travel by the Purrgil. Oh man, it looked so cool with the multicolored lights. Kind of looked like the Marvel special presentation lighting, actually, which is kind of fun. Or it reminded me of Thor Ragnarok a little bit too. Just the multiple crazy colors. But yeah, very, very cool visual. Loved this. And then, you know, Hu Yang sums it up perfectly, right? He says, intergalactic travel within a star whale. Now I really have done it all. And this is a dude that's been around for centuries, who has seen it all, seemingly. Nope, he hasn't seen this. He has not seen this. So speaking of him being around for a long time, we're reminded that he was a history teacher back in the days of the training the Jedi. And he taught history of the galaxy, parts 1, 2, and 3. Oh man, I would so enroll in those classes, like yesterday. That would be so cool. And then we get this tease where he says, would you like to hear one? And I'm telling you, both me and my son were watching this together, and we both in unison shouted, yes, yes, give us one of the stories. Well, they tease us a little bit, and they go on and talk about some other things, but then finally he comes back and starts one of the stories by saying, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Way cool. Again, just telling us this is new frontier. This is unexplored territory ever in the history of Star Wars. So cool. And of course, it's like poetry, right? Because the episode title is Far, Far Away. And speaking of poetry, I don't know that this is poetry Sabine wanted, but yes, there is some poetry here too. It kind of reminded me of Leia being captured in A New Hope and sitting there in the cell. Very different reasons for each of them being captured, but yeah, thought that was kind of cool. Things are not going exactly the way Sabine had planned. So then this was really cool as the Eye of Sion is approaching Peridea. Man, beautiful, beautiful visuals. Then we start getting some lore, which is great. We learn where the Night Sisters came from. Morgan says that is Peridea, the ancient home world of my ancestors, the Dathomiri, which is interesting because that probably explains why when they came to the Star Wars galaxy, they named their planet Dathomir because they were the Dathomiri. Works perfect, right? And then Morgan says, my people were the first to harness and ride the creatures. Very, very cool. But then I like this detail. This explains a lot. Baylan says, this is basically the end of a migration route used by the Star Whales as they traverse the void from one galaxy to another. And then if it wasn't clear, he says, the whales came here to die. Peridea is a graveyard. So this really kind of answered a question I've had for a while, which is, why did Ezra and Thrawn not just ride the whales back again? We knew that the Purrgil had carried them at the end of Rebels to this distant galaxy, but why not turn around and come back? Well, that's because the whales were coming here to die. They were probably unable to make the trip back again. Who knows? They may have died as soon as they finished the trip. In fact, we see orbiting the planet, the ring is really composed of their dead carcasses. So yeah, they're not able to make the return trip. There is no other way back other than the Eye of Sion. Wild. Very wild. Okay, so, man, these statues are just plain creepy. They create such an awesome atmosphere that this planet is dangerous, very dangerous. I thought this was fun too, the claustrophobic views as we're kind of staring through the window, just like if you're on an airplane, right? Surveying a new country or a new place in the world you've never been before. You're just sticking your head out the window, trying to take everything in. I really liked that shot. That was really cool because it was us going, I want to see this planet. I want to see this planet. Come on, tell us more. Tell us more. So then finally we get to meet the Great Mothers, the Night Sisters, the witches, whatever you want to call them. They're awesome. That's the bottom line. They're doing their little magic stuff there. And of course, this is the first time we've seen them in live action, in their full garb. This is what they looked like in the animated series, but now we're getting to see them in live action. Very, very cool. Love it. Then we learn who it was that was calling to Morgan. It was them. They say, "Welcome, child of Dathomir. You heard our call to you in the dream." Very cool. And boy, they're not fond of Sabine. It reeks of Jedi. It is dangerous. Man, it. Yikes. But it's interesting that they sense the Jedi in her because they don't sense the Jedi in Baylan. And we know that Baylan was at least a Jedi. So he is either able to hide it or he has so rejected the Jedi way that they don't even sense it in him. Versus Sabine at least was trying to be a Jedi. Who knows if she ultimately will or not. But she's been trying. So they sense that. So they send those little magic balls around her and boom, constrict her. And again, they say it will wait in solitude. Man, things are not going well for Sabine. Then Filoni loves himself some wolves, right? Anytime he gets a chance, we see wolf imagery. Very cool. But then, I love this, we get a little more, just a little more insight into whatever it is Baylan is seeking. He says the fall of the Jedi, the rise of the Empire, it repeats again and again and again. What I seek is the beginning, so I may finally bring this cycle to an end. What is this guy looking for? I'm telling you, Baylan and Shin are probably my favorite characters. I did not see that coming. The two brand new characters with no history. We don't have any clue who they are. I now feel like I know them as well as I know any of the other characters, and I really, really want to know what they're doing. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on it. Leave it in the comments if you even have a remote clue as to what they're talking about. I mean, it could be the world between worlds. That is a way to maybe redo time or whatever. I don't know. That's too simple of an answer. I think there's something else way cooler in store. So let me know if you got any thoughts. But either way, I am enjoying them so much, so much. R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, by the way. Man. So then finally, we get Thrawn. And my word, that's a big ship, right? If you watched Rebels, then you know that's exactly what his ship looked like. I mean, just looks perfect. And you can even see the damage there on what is our right side. That's the damage that the Purrgils created. So look just below the image, you can see there's still a big chunk out of the ship. So very cool, very well done. It is just monstrous. And it's got the same markings that it had in Rebels. That's really cool. And then it just basically drops over that platform they're on. So you get an idea of just how huge this thing is. Goodness gracious. All right, so then it's time to meet Thrawn's army. So he still has a lot of his army hanging out, right? I love the fact they're just chanting Thrawn, Thrawn, Thrawn. But notice they're labeled night troopers. Interesting, right? What are these things? And then this dude, Enoch, whoa, creepy, way creepy. Now, I've already heard guesses of people trying to figure out who is this, who's under the mask. I'm just going to throw out it's nobody, right? Because we already got Merricked, or Mephistoed, as the case may be, and it turned out nobody was under there of importance. Now, it could turn out somebody is this time. But my guess is these guys might be undead. I'm wondering if Merrick was introduced and dispensed of just to show us that there is nothing under that armor, that they are enchanted and reanimated by the Night Sisters. So, I don't know. Maybe some of the army is alive and some of them are undead. Who knows? Let me know what you think. But this was very interesting to have this fascinating character show up and then be dispensed of. But now we know why. It's to introduce us to this idea that there may be nothing under there except for magic. Wow. And then finally, we get our look at Thrawn. What an entrance. Dude knows how to make an entrance, right? Looking really cool. Love that outfit. Right out of Rebels. And now, it is kind of funny. I've heard some people saying, he's got a dad bod. But here's the bottom line. In the animated series, for whatever reason, they made the characters so ridiculously skinny. I mean, impossibly skinny. There's no way someone could have that figure. His head alone is so skinny, but even his body. The Inquisitors were really skinny. Cad Bane was really skinny. So it's just impossible. So I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with it. But yeah, I have heard people joking he's rocking the dad bod. All right, that's fine. Either way, he's here to kick some butt. That's all I know. Do not talk about his dad bod or you're gone. You're dead. He will take care of you. So anyway, I think he looks amazing. I love the fact that he says what was first just a dream has become a frightening reality. Just that part of his quote, because then he goes on to say, to our foes. But in a way, this is Filoni saying, it was just a dream that you might actually get a live action Thrawn. Well, guess what? It's become a frightening reality because here he is. And oh man, he looks great. He just looks great. The only thing they didn't seem to bring over is above his eyes, his temples there with the extra shape. I don't know why they didn't do that other than it probably was a real pain. Maybe it just didn't work out well when they were testing it. I'm fine with that. Again, they create things in animation that are nearly impossible to build out in real life. So he looks great. I love it. The eyes, everything. Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about Thrawn. I've said many times, I don't think you need to have watched Rebels, Clone Wars, read the books to still enjoy Ahsoka. However, there is some interesting backstory of Thrawn that I think may come into play. We'll see. So, as I've mentioned previously, Heir to the Empire was an amazing 3-part novel series way back in 1991. And basically when Disney bought Star Wars, the rights to Star Wars, they decanonized, I should say, lots of things. The comics, these novels, many other novels, and video games. And they dubbed them as legends. It was their way of saying, hey, go and enjoy this stuff. It's fun to read, fun to watch, etc. But it didn't happen. And I think it's because Disney wanted the freedom to do whatever they wanted. However, Filoni is the man because he is slowly pulling so many different pieces of legends back into canon. And obviously Thrawn is one of them. Now, this series of novels happened around the same time as Ahsoka's happening, around 9 ABY. So we'll see whether or not the main 3, Luke, Leia, and Han, show up in the movies, because they're certainly not going to be in the Ahsoka series, but maybe we'll see some de-aged characters in the movies. But instead, the Rebels are kind of taking their place for now. But yeah, I'm betting when we get to the Filoni movie, it's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. So basically, Thrawn is of the species Chiss. That's the name of his species, which they're basically near human sentient beings with obviously blue skin, red eyes, and dark hair. Now they live in what is called the unknown regions, and you can kind of see it right there. And my guess is it was given that name by the Empire because the Empire doesn't know anything about it. And the reason they don't know anything about it is because if you look at the unknown regions, it's filled with supernova, black holes, gravity wells, all this dangerous stuff. So you really need a force-sensitive navigator to even attempt to travel through this area, which is why we're going to see Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine, was very interested in knowing more about this area because he just didn't know anything about it. Okay, so while it is still considered Legends material, so it may or may not get pulled into canon via the Ahsoka series when we get more of Thrawn's backstory, it is worth noting that at least in one of the novels, Thrawn and Anakin met. It was during the Clone Wars. I wish it had been a Clone Wars episode. That would have been awesome, but it wasn't. It was in a novel that is currently Legends. But it's very important because they left with a mutual respect for each other, and most importantly, it would help Thrawn when he next encounters the Empire. So again, Legends material, not yet canon, but very likely will be. The Chiss basically exiled Thrawn. They got tired of his tactics and some of the things he used, some of his methods. And after the Clone Wars ended, he was basically found and recruited by the Empire. So it'll be interesting to see what Filoni decides to pull from Legends. But regardless of why and how it happened, Thrawn was eventually brought into the Empire. We know that had to happen because obviously in Rebels series, he was very important for the Empire. So here's where it really helped that Thrawn knew Anakin and Anakin had known Thrawn, because Thrawn was aware, of Anakin and could discuss him, but Palpatine had probably been told about Thrawn by Anakin. So Palpatine knew that Thrawn was a master strategist, perhaps one of the smartest that's ever lived, so he definitely wanted him to be part of his empire. Plus, and this kind of ties it all together, Thrawn promised to give him information about the unknown regions, which was advantageous for Palpatine. So, very interesting, right? It all kind of ties together. Well, this all worked out pretty well for Thrawn because, over time, he rose to the ranks of Grand Admiral. So, which is, by the way, he is literally the only non-human to rise to that rank, that high within the Empire. Amazing, right? And again, it was because he was such a brilliant strategist and was so important to the Empire. Speaking of being a brilliant strategist, one of the things he does is he learns everything he can about his enemies. This quote is so telling, where he says, "To defeat an enemy, you must know them, not simply their tactics, but their history, philosophy, and art." That line is going to become very important, as we're going to see he attempts to do the same when he learns about Ahsoka. So kind of keep this in mind. But as he continued to rise in the ranks, he was eventually awarded command over the 7th Fleet, a massive, massive fleet. And in particular, his flagship was the Imperial I-class Star Destroyer, the Chimera. And that's, of course, what we're seeing now showing up in Ahsoka, right? So he also proposed to the Empire, and this is during the Rebels series. This is, by the way, we've now moved out of Legends, and we are in canon. This is canon stuff because this is the Rebels series. And he proposed to Grand Moff Tarkin really right before the original series, the original trilogy, I should say. He proposed the idea of creating a TIE Defender. You can see it there in the image. And then here's a closer view of it. And he chose as the planet to manufacture them, the planet Lothal. Now that name probably rings a bell, right? Because in Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2, we met a lot of the people that live on Lothal, and of course that's where Ezra Bridger lived. So that brought Thrawn into conflict with the Rebels, with obviously Ezra himself, but eventually the entire Rebels team. And then, as we've discussed in previous videos, at the climax of the Rebels series, right before A New Hope, right before the original trilogy, that's when the Purrgil attack Thrawn's fleet. There they are again destroying the bottom of his ship, and they cart him off to what we now know is Peridea in the other galaxy. And many have said that had the 7th Fleet been around, had Thrawn not been carted away, that maybe the Empire would have won. Maybe the Rebels wouldn't have been able to overcome it, because Thrawn was such a great strategist, obviously, and leader, but also the 7th Fleet was massive. So, very interesting. Hope that helped. Again, I just don't think you need this information, but I do think it's interesting to have it as a little bit of a backstory. Okay, so I also find this interesting. Notice that the Night Sisters did not see or predict that Sabine was going to be with them. They say they have brought a prisoner. We did not see it. It is a loose thread. I don't know whether that's going to end up being significant or not, but it is interesting that they did not see this scenario happening. So then Thrawn obviously wants to know who brought this person, and he's introduced to Baylan, but he doesn't really need an introduction. He remembers him. You must be General Baylan Skoll of the Jedi Order, he says. Notice, General. That's pretty cool. But Baylan's immediately like, oh, I parted ways with the Jedi long ago, which we know. We definitely know. Then, finally, Sabine comes face to face with Thrawn. And, oh my goodness, I love the duct-taped stormtrooper outfits, or stormtrooper armor, right? The red duct tape. Epic, epic. So yeah, this is the meeting we've been waiting to see. Thrawn says, what a delight it is after so long to see a familiar face. And he says, I understand. It is you I have to thank for my escape from exile. Well, I'm sure that ticked off Sabine. She's like, that was not my goal. I just want to see Ezra, so shut up. But you do have to wonder, is this going to be Sabine's Star-Lord moment? Remember, in Infinity War, Star-Lord has always been blamed for Thanos' success and wiping out half the universe. Is Sabine having her Star-Lord moment? Because, as Thrawn almost taunts her, he says, the desire to be reunited with your long-lost friend, how that singular focus will reshape our galaxy. Wow. Right? Wow. Truer words have never been spoken. All of this is going to end up being Sabine's fault. All of the death and destruction coming. Whoa. Heavy, heavy, heavy. So then Sabine tries to get a little snarky and says, hey, if you survived, I'm sure he's doing fine. And Thrawn again just punches it harder and says, you have gambled the fate of your galaxy on that belief. Woof, woof. So eventually, Thrawn and Baylan end up being, men of their word, and Sabine takes off on what we learn to be called howlers. I thought these things looked great, by the way. I don't know if they were animatrons or if they were all CGI, but I was really impressed. I thought they were very believable. But, man, Thrawn has other plans for Sabine and Ezra. Sabine Wren will have the opportunity of finding Ezra Bridger, he says. And if she does, you and your master will destroy them both. Yikes. Don't know that Baylan really likes that idea, but Thrawn is quite happy with wrapping up loose ends. So he's really happy, actually, Sabine is there, because he figures if anybody can find Ezra, it's going to be Sabine, and then we can have them both killed. But at the end of the day, I also don't think he cares. He just wants to get home. So whatever happens, just we're leaving. That's for sure. So then Sabine shows off her Mandalorian skills fighting what is kind of this planet's Tusken Raiders, right? But I love this. So she's got her gun out. She's got a grappling hook, or whatever she calls it, around that dude's neck. She's firing her gun at one dude, sending an electric shock through to that dude, and then blocking the shots of a third dude. Man, she is a good fighter. I love that. I mean, very well done. Incredible choreography for this fight scene. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And then finally, only as a last resort, isn't that interesting? She whips out the lightsaber. So yeah, I don't think she really wants to be a Jedi. What she wants is to be a warrior, and a good warrior, and if the Force helps her be a better warrior, then so be it. Because man, she is really, really good. All right, so back on Thrawn's ship, we have to wonder, what is it they're packing away? I mean, these could be coffins, right? Are they coffins of Night Sisters that have died? Are they coffins of some of Thrawn's army that has died? Again, is his entire army undead? They've all died and been reanimated. Who knows? But they mentioned they came from the catacombs. So yeah, very interesting. All right, then I love this. This kind of shows who Thrawn is in this simple dialogue. So Morgan says, should we not send more troops to support them? And she's talking about the fact that, should we send more troops to go and take care of Ezra and Sabine, basically. Now, this is so cool. Thrawn stops, doesn't move a muscle for literally 3 solid seconds. You can watch it yourself, and you can count 1001, 1002, 1003. He's thinking. He is very deliberate in everything he does. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sometimes really fast to give an answer. Oh, here you go. We should do this. We should do that. No, nothing he does is lickety-split. It is all deliberate. I love that. So then after a full 3 seconds of just standing there, he responds, during the exile, our numbers have dwindled, which is interesting. Was he trying to decide, should we send more? Can we afford to? Or was he trying to decide, do I really want Morgan to know our numbers have dwindled? Who knows what was going through that head of his? But again, this just shows what a master strategist he is and why he is not to be toiled with, not to be taken for granted. So then it's interesting. He even tells her, I don't even care what happens to Baylan and Shin. I don't even care what happens to Ezra and Sabine. We're leaving one way or another. So then a little bit more of a hint of whatever it is Baylan's after. He says, perhaps they, referring to the Night Sisters, flee a power greater than their own. What on earth? There's something out there more powerful than the Night Sisters, and that's why they all want to leave? And then he says, something calls to me. Again, I'll say it. I am so fascinated in this quest. I mean, I have zero clue what he's looking for, but I cannot wait to find out. All right, so then we meet this planet's Ewoks. We met the Tusken Raiders earlier. Now we meet the Ewoks. These little things better not be the reason that the entire Thrawn army falls, right? I mean, I put up with it when the Ewoks helped defeat the Empire, but I do not want these things to win any battles, darn it. No, they're cute. The Noti, I think, is their name, because at least that's what the closed captioning seems to indicate. Most importantly, though, that's how Sabine realizes, wait, you guys know where Ezra is. Okay, very cool. So she finds their village, which notice is probably very easy to pick up and move. That explains how Ezra has been able to hide from Thrawn all this time. They just keep moving, no matter what happens. So very cool. And then, okay, that is adorable, right? The little dude in his hammock. Oh, so sweet. And then what is this dude doing? Is he setting up a janky dish network? I mean, that thing looks gnarly. If that thing picks up anything, I'll be amazed. There's no way that's getting any reception. Sorry, dude. Give it up. But then finally, we get to see Ezra. Very good casting for live action. Just fantastic. Loved it. And that's considering the fact that, I'm going to be honest, I'm sorry for anybody that likes Ezra from Rebels. I did not like him. I never got into his character. He was so, look at my hair, aren't I amazing? He drove me crazy. Then I was like, okay, I like that better. But now you're acting like you're way too cool. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I just didn't get into his character. But I know a lot of people love him. But I will say this. Live action Ezra, I'm really looking forward to. So I'm putting aside the fact that I wasn't a fan in Rebels, and I'm loving the live action. And I do like the fact that they made his look so similar to his dad. We look at him with the beard, and the curly hair. That is so cool. So cool. So yeah, love it. Plus, I mean, thank goodness he looked like this, right? Because it could have been Sabine shows up and he looked like that. Angry hermit. Nope. No, I mean, he's been 10 years alone, right? 10 years on this planet, around 10 years. But nope, doesn't look like that. But also, it could have been even worse than this. Yeah, as bad as it could have been for him to be Hermit Luke, it could have been that Ezra said, oh, by the way, Sabine, I'd like you to introduce you to Mrs. Shellback, my wife. Hey, don't judge me, Sabine. I've been here 10 years alone, all right? That is, and she's really cute. Or he, or it. I don't even know if they have genders. But anyway, yeah, there is no significant other, no partner for Ezra. That's good. And instead, we get this reunion we've been waiting for. Oh, so sweet. Love it, love it, love it. Been a long, long time coming. And then we get the little cute Rebels name drop when Ezra says, I see my friends found you. And Sabine says, your own band of rebels. Cute. Really cute. But then, oh my, are they foreshadowing a conversation that will not end well, right? Because Ezra says, how did you get here? And Sabine just sighs and says, let's not talk about that. Not right now. Oh, man. Oh, man. And then it gets worse because after Ezra says, come on, we never stay in one place for very long, which again reinforces that's how they've been avoiding Thrawn. He then says, thanks for coming. I can't wait to go home. Oi. I think Ezra is going to be very upset with Sabine because Ezra basically stranded himself on this remote galaxy, as we now find out, on this planet, for 10 years. And he did it, he sacrificed himself to make sure Thrawn was not a threat to the rebels and to the rebellion. Now, for Sabine, because she wanted so much to be with Ezra, to basically make it so that Thrawn can get away and potentially now Sabine is stranded with him on this planet. It kind of makes his sacrifice worthless, right? I mean, why pull Thrawn away if then Sabine just brings him right back? So I'm telling you, this is her Star-Lord moment, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. All right, and so then I love this. It reminds me of my little miniature Star Wars ships when you put them on a little plastic stand and mount them. Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's immediately what I thought of when I saw that. But love it, love it. So then, Thrawn learns about the supposedly recently deceased Ahsoka Tano, and we get more references to undead, right? Because he says, after all, death and resurrection are common deceptions played out by both Night Sister and Jedi. So yeah, I really think this is hinting at the fact that he either currently has an undead army or he's going to have an undead army. One of the two. Then, remember I said earlier that he loves to learn everything about someone. He says, I want to know her, Ahsoka's, background, history, homeworld, her master, everything. Now remember, this is where it may become important that Thrawn not only met Anakin, but it's been rumored he may have even known that Anakin was Darth Vader. Because again, he's so brilliant, he's so smart, his mind is incredible. So he may have figured that out and never told anybody. We'll see. We'll see whether that comes into play. But I do think the fact that he has met Anakin and obviously met Darth Vader is going to come into play. Very important. All right. And then I love this. Man, so menacing. If a star whale approaches Peridea, destroy it with prejudice. Yikes. Yikes. Then finally, we got to wonder, what are these great mothers planning now? He says, great mothers, I shall once again require the aid of your dark magic. CK magic. That means evil. You spell it that way when it ain't something good. And then they say, the thread of destiny demands it, Grand Admiral. So yeah, wow. Very menacing way to end the episode. Cannot wait to see the last two episodes. Going to be incredible. As a reminder, here's the timeline. And then from a Thrawn standpoint, even though for some people this is the first you've even seen Thrawn, right? But keep in mind, we learned that he was definitely around during the Clone Wars and soon after, and then joined the Empire. We know for certain he was involved during the Rebels series, because that was really important. And then, of course, he gets sucked off to Peridea. And then now we see him again showing up in Ahsoka. So he's been around for quite a while, even if he seems like a newer character. But he has a lot of history with the overall Star Wars. And then don't forget, we also have Tales of the Jedi. If you haven't watched those, I really recommend watching the Ahsoka episodes. Also, a reminder, the channel has that contest. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. Winner will be announced in October. And lastly, love to have you join the Discord. Here we are talking about everything that happened, including good old grizzled Luke, right? Hermit Luke. All right, I will leave a pinned comment so that you can join the Discord if you'd like. So like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we will all excitedly wait for Ahsoka Episode 7.